the next session is the session that you guys have been waiting also, because our very, very VIP guests are here to share the story to us on the topic how startups can improve the economy of developing country. So now, may I invite on the stage Mr. Gorn Jatikawanit, former Minister of Finance, Royal Thai Government, Mr. Barak Charabi, Head of Economics and Trade Mission at Israeli Embassy in Bangkok, Thailand, Mr. Supachai Jiarawanon, President and CEO of True Corporation. And this session would be moderated by our honor moderator, Mr. Sutichai Yun, Director of Nation Broadcasting Corporation. Please give a warm welcome.
Good afternoon. Well, choose your seat. The last one available will be mine. We'll start with Barak, who is from Israel. Because Israel is known, if you have read the book, as the startup nation. And if you want to put or make Thailand another startup nation, what should we do, Barak?
Okay, first of all, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I don't think Thailand should be a startup nation. Thailand is a startup nation. We just need to support it to grow faster and with the help of Israel. So just a
Are
few
we
words.
already a startup nation?
Struggling startup nation.
Struggling.
No, Thailand has a lot of potential.
Yes.
Thailand is the 23rd producer of the world in terms of production capabilities. A lot of power. If I may say a few words about maybe Israel. So just so people will see, this is Israel. You can see over there.
Yes.
So Israel is a very young country, 8 million people, growing. Israel and Thailand almost have the same GDP per capita, GDP, not per capita. Per capita, it's actually a bit different. It's a very beautiful country, and Israel produces 1% of the world news, which is a lot. So this is exactly the reason. So as you can see here, Israel has the highest density of startup in the world in terms of venture capital. Tel Aviv is number 2 in the world after Silicon Valley. We have very good R&D capabilities, which is important. The country needs to invest in R&D. I'm talking about civilian R&D right now. We have a lot of high tolerance for failure. This is something very important. Different mentality. I believe that Thailand should take certain things from Israel in terms of the good things, the innovative capabilities, the innovative capacity, the universities. You have amazing universities in Thailand, Chulalongkorn, Kim Mongkut, Thammasat, others. And basically, you just need to see how you promote these people to actually collaborate. Israel, we call it the golden triangle of government, private sector, and academia. Basically, all these three should collaborate in order to support an ecosystem like startups. So this is just a good example of how startup changed Israel 30 years ago. As you can see in this chart, Israel was a major exporter of agriculture, orchards. In that sense, it's oranges. And basically, what happened was that Israel in 1992 decided to come up that it's not good enough. The world is changing. We need to do something about it. Technology is going. We will lose if we compete because the salaries in Israel are increasing, the same like in Thailand, versus the region. So it's a lot of competition. So what do? So Israel decided to do a sort of diversion, and we created the VC's environment. So Israel formed a fund. It's called Yozma, which is initiative, in 1992, 1993, and you can see over there the changes. How it grows when the government is providing support, guidance, finance for the private sector. That's what happens. So just so you understand, in the 1980s, we had 20% of agricultural workers in Israel. Today, we have 1%, 1.5%, and they produce, with the help of technology, 3 times higher the amount we used to produce with 20%, just so you understand. Thailand will have to go through a certain shift like that. You have approximately 40% of your population, the working population, in agricultural. You need to create more value-added products, value crops. You have, of course, the certain others that you need to stay with them. because this is the basic food for Thailand, but you need to compete with the others. And when Vietnam is producing for much less salary for per person, and Myanmar is doing the same, and of course it's not the same quality and everything, but it's still competition. And Thailand lost in 2014 the GSP to the EU, so you cannot sell to the EU now the same things that you used to do before.
What is it that Israel has that Thailand does not have?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that Barak helped organize for me and my team to visit Israel.
Yes.
It was a one-week trip. The specific purpose of that trip was to look at how they manage water. They have no water, but everybody has water.
Yeah.
Their farmers have access to water 24/7, 365 days in a year. And we wanted to know how they did it. We have more than enough water, but we still suffer from drought. I have to say that it was the most inspiring week I've had in my life almost. Very impressive. But what I also learned, as Barak said, was that, well, first of all, there's a lot that our two nations can do together. But more importantly, what they've achieved, we can achieve actually much easier because we are starting from a much stronger base in terms of the resources that we have. Having said that, the one big advantage that Israel clearly has on us, and I think is a big constraint for us and is a big constraint for the startup community, is people, educated people, people who are educated in the correct field. There's a great shortage of...
So your people are smarter than our people.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
You didn't say that?
I'm just saying that
Wasn't that what you meant?
It's different. It's different.
No,
I
don't
think
you don't have to be diplomatic.
No, let's put it this way. Barak correctly, for example, pointed out that 40% of our population is in agriculture. And yet, those 40% actually make equivalent to about 8% of our GDP. So you've got 40% of the people working in a sector that generates income of, that is worth only 8% of our total national income. Now that's clearly unproductive. I'm not saying that there should be necessarily fewer farmers, but what I am saying, which is what Barak had just said, is that our farmers could be using better technology, utilizing the existing resources that they have to be much more productive and much more efficient. And that's the lowest lying fruit that is available. And there are other low-lying fruits in other sectors, even in financial services, even in telecommunication. So there is a lot that we could do a lot better, which is something Israel can't say. They're already doing everything very good. So if you
they cannot be better.
Well, if you are stuck in
From now on, Israel is on the downhill turn.
I wouldn't say
We're going up and you're coming down, right?
Maybe both of us can go up together.
Yeah. Why not?
With
a
your
better
help.
way.
With your help. Kun Supachai, what is it that Israel has that we don't have?
I think it's the urge, the national sense of unity, and without a lot of resources and the risk in the areas, forced Israel to be very strong and innovative. And Thailand, we don't have that urge. We live in beautiful countries with the right environment, rich of resources. But to say that we cannot grow like Israel, but we can grow differently because our nature is very strong in the sense that Thailand is a melting pot for the regions. For as long as we can remember, it's an open culture. It's the place that would attract every people from all over the world to come here. And that is a very key thing for startup nations or to go into a startup nation. And to use the Chinese word, it's like the feng shui. So our feng shui is right.
Huang Chui.
Feng shui. So if we make the ecosystem correctly and incentivize the talent around the regions, then we can become a startup nation. The-
So
the-
we don't have to be smart. We just get smart people coming in.
Exactly.
And we don't have to do anything.
You have smart people, I must say. I must interfere on behalf of Thailand.
No, but the thing is that we can jumpstart. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. Thai people can work together with foreigners, expatriates, or the young entrepreneurial around the regions, or even around the world, and we can catch up really fast. Because again, the brain power are all the same. It's just this learning curve, and how you forge the cluster, so that we can have a cluster of communities big enough to collaborate and interact to accelerate the learning curve in each area of the technology. So I think we have to leverage on our own nature of what kind of strength we have, and we have to utilize that. And Israel have their own strength,
Right.
and they have their own kind of nature, but we are built differently. But we can come toward a very similar result, but coming from a different direction.
Barack, what is the biggest challenge for Thailand to overcome that?
You're asking an Israeli guy about Thailand.
Yes. I don't know why they invited you,
of
but
all-
you're supposed to answer that question.
I will answer a question.
Okay.
First of all, I would like to say that Thailand is very unique. Okay, Thailand has its own power. It has history. It has culture. It has so many things that every people, like around the world, they appreciate. I love the country. I live here for the past 4 years, and I love the country. Thailand has some challenges. As I'm a guest in this country, so I will not try to do more than offer something to assist in that, because I believe that we can do
What
together.
is the single biggest challenge?
There's a book that somebody wrote that is called Dare to Do. At a certain time, you have to do. There are a lot of things that sometimes it takes a long time, more than required maybe. And there's a lot to do in this country. The country is amazing. People are waiting for things to be happening. We've been talking about logistics for a few years now.
Yes.
The infrastructure, water, technology. In terms of people are waiting for water to have. And Thai people can do a lot, but they cannot do everything. Sometimes the country needs to do stuff for them, in my opinion. And they're doing, but it just takes time. And sometimes you don't have this time because you're competing in a very tough region.
When you say it takes time, Thai people like that very much because that is our excuse. Everything that we do, that we don't do well enough, we say it takes time. How do we change that mentality?
All I can offer, because I believe that Thailand can be they're already an amazing country, but they can do so much better by adaptation of certain technologies. You don't need to create everything from the beginning. As Kun Supachai has said, you already have the basic. You have a lot of strength in different capabilities. You just need to use this strength and take the technology that you can get from abroad already. Shorten the time for the market. You need to come with a cutting edge, added value that you can bring to your own technologies, your own environment at the moment, and just push very, very fast. You cannot continue to walk while everybody's running. This is the right.
Are we walking or are we running?
What do you think?
What do we think? Are we walking? Are we running?
I hope we're walking forward at least.
I hope so too.
May I add to this?
Please.
I think, to evolve, first thing is that we have to create the awareness. Sessions like this create the awareness. But then again, in order for a big country or like us to move, we need some kind of incentive. Okay, and it's the same thing as when I say earlier about ecosystem. So how can Thailand start creating the awareness? We are already a creative society. A lot of design, creativities, fashions are already in Thailand. But if you wanted the creativities to go into the technology side, then you need to create the incentive. So the venture capitals, the seed fund, the accelerators, all of these have to be put in place. But you cannot just say that, okay, everyone please, put on the seed fund and create 1,000 of seed funds, and so that all the young people and can actually realize that they can focus and put their energy in this area to grow. So the government incentive also is quite important to attract all these funds, not only from the Thai corporates or from the Thai funds, but also from around the world. So this is a very important thing to start to create the right awareness and pursue the focus of the Thai people, including young startup in these regions. And if we can do that, then I think the culture can move. It's almost like earlier when Khun Korn talks about the farmers. The farmers will keep growing the same thing every year because they know that the government actually give the incentive or support or guarantee the price. And they will not, even the market would not want it.
No.
Okay? They would still grow it. But if the government start give the incentive in a different way, that actually they will grow the crops according to the demand, then they will start shifting. So for the mass people to start shifting their attention and the energy toward the other thing is creating the awareness through giving the right incentive.
Khun Korn, you have just set up the Thailand's first fintech startup club, right? Yeah. And you also personally have invested in fintech companies. Why? Do you think startups really would push the country forward?
Definitely. I guess
This is
put
not just
my
a
money.
fad. This is not just a passing fad.
I hope not. I put my money where my mouth is. So I'm a true believer, especially in the area. It happens to be fintech because that's my area of knowledge. But in the fintech space in particular, I think this is revolutionary. And for a country like Thailand, whereby we still have millions of people who don't even have bank accounts, have no access to formal banking services, are still dependent upon loan sharks for their loans. There is just so much that startup fintechs can do in terms of improving the quality of access, reducing the cost of financing, and that is a very important factor for overall social and economic development. I mean, through the telecommunication industry, we've seen spread of internet. I think smartphone penetration is one of the highest in the world here in Thailand. So we have the basic infrastructure. It can be improved, but basically it's pretty good. And access to internet has allowed people better access to information. But what fintech can do is actually to monetize that information. And I think that's the key. For Thais, they're being introduced by this current government something called Prompt Pay. Well, that's digitizing money. But what fintech will do, one step more, is, as I said, monetize data. And there's a lot of data there because, and much better access to data information because of the spread of mobile technology. The step from that is to create value out of that data, which is what fintech will do. I mean, as an example, I'm speaking to the converted, but in any case, an inspiring example for me, and I'm probably the least tech-savvy person in the whole room here, is what Alibaba has been doing. They see all the trade through e-commerce through their system. And what they've been able to do with that is pinpoint small firms who they have collected a series of trading data and structure a financing proposal in terms of loans specifically to these SMEs who and be very comfortable in doing that because they've seen payment and trade transaction through their own system.
Right.
So all of a sudden, from the perspective of the SME in question, they have access to the kind of personalized financing that they didn't have before. And from Alibaba's perspective, of course, what they've done is monetize that data that they already have. Now, this is amazing, especially given that the Thai economy is basically SME dominated. Certainly in terms of employment, 90+% of Thais who are employed by companies at all are employed by SMEs. And yet the biggest problem to SMEs is access to financing. And I think fintech can go a long way towards solving that problem.
How do you get the data, the big data?
Well, that's a lot of work to be done. You were there when we launched the Thai FinTech Club, and there was talk about national data pool and a consolidation of data, including credit data. The data is out there, but it's not yet been pooled in the same place in a way that is accessible to those who, as I said again, can monetize that data. So it's work in progress, but at least with the creation of this club, we were pleased that all the relevant regulators have actually asked to join the club. So the Governor of the Bank of Thailand, the SEC, the Insurance Commissioner, and the Ministry of Finance have all indicated their interest in joining the club so that they could work together with us rather than look at us as a lobby group,
Right.
which is a big change in mindset.
So the present government understands the issue.
Well, the regulators do.
The regulators do.
Yeah, and I think the government too. I mean, I spoke with Deputy Prime Minister Somkit prior to the event. He fully supports it. He sees that this is something that could really push Thailand along the pace that Barack is suggesting we need. And I think
Please talk to our Deputy Prime Minister too,
That's right. Well, he knows him very well.
because he doesn't listen to us. He may listen to a diplomat like you.
I'm sure he will listen to you before he will listen to me.
But,
Cool.
but one point, if I may, Dr. Kun Suphachai talked about incentives, and I think that's
That's the key.
That's key. And there is positive incentive of the kind that he's talking about, government incentives and seed money and so on and so forth. But I think we should highlight negative incentive too. And by that I mean fear. And we should have a level of fear in our hearts. Because especially you guys, at the kind of, I'm assuming average age here, 28, 29, 30 maybe. Thailand faces a serious aging problem. So right now, the dependency ratio, that is the ratio between Thais in working age and those in retirement age, is 4:1, which is already make us one of the older societies in Asia. But the statistics indicate that that dependency ratio will collapse from 4:1 to 2:1 in just under 25 years. Now that's a very significant shift, probably not seen before in history, short of a major war. Are we prepared? Clearly, we're not. I mean, most Thais don't have a pension plan. And I think the fiscal pressure in the future for governments is going to be huge. How do we look after the aging population?
People like me.
And me, with a lower number of those in working age. So clearly, the maths indicate that you're either going to have to work twice as hard, or you're going to have to work twice as smart. And there's no way around it. And I'd rather you work twice as smart than twice as hard, because even if you work twice as hard, what is going to happen to you, unless we're able to increase productivity for the whole economy, is that you're going to be paying a lot more taxes than me and everybody in the current working age have to, because you're going to be having to look after more elderly people in the future. So there is no alternative than to increase productivity. And the best way of doing so, and I hope this government and future governments will realize, is to use technology.
Yeah. คุณสุภชัย CP is a big conglomerate. Startups a threat or a facilitator for CP? Is CP afraid of all these people here? All these young people trying to start their startups?
No, I think, I think it's a natural evolution. Think of CP Group as a big tree. CP Group can grow as much as so much as one tree. It's got to branch out. Now, if the seeds fall under the trees, onto the ground, because of the shadows of the large organization, it will not grow. So it's best that the seed fall out of the tree's shadows. So it is important that the large conglomerate actually spend their budget instead of just doing the R&D and all that. We should work with entrepreneurs, such as a startup. So I think this dimension is, this thinking is in the group for quite some time. But again, the group, even though as much as it's diversified itself, have to evolve. And in this age of technology, where the digital technology have actually connected everyone together, and all these other megatrend of technology converging, the group can't diversify where, where it's used to. It's got to evolve and move faster. The speed is the essence. So again, True Corporation itself, already putting up with the funds in order to invest in startups.
So you are investing in startups.
Yes.
Before startups invest in CP.
Well, we welcome that as well.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
All right.
And CP Group is also under its way to put up with also the CP Group capitals, so that it would be able to involve in investing in the startup. But selective though. For a large corporate, usually we look at our pain point or our competitive advantage. So if we are going to invest, we have to invest to either solve our pain point in serving our customers, or actually enhance our competitiveness in competing. And at the same time, hopefully enjoy the investment once it's become its own successful business. So that's sort of like mentalities of the large corporation. Is looking from not to invest in something that is not familiar to the corporate at all. Maybe that is another step further.
What if I were a young startup? I don't want to work under CP. I don't want to be under the shadow of CP. I don't want CP's money. I want to compete with CP in certain area. How would you treat me?
I think the company, if the company itself have to always challenge itself. The competition is not about how to stop the competitors, but how to evolve yourself and be able to really serve the market. So the thinking for the large organization is to disrupt themselves. Okay.
To disrupt yourself before others disrupt you.
Yes, always. But disrupting yourself is not going to put more budget into R&D, okay, and then wait 5 years, 10 years to do product development, like in the past. Disrupting themselves is setting up a new BUs. Okay, but again, setting up a new BUs is not, it also still different from investing in startup, in the way that with startup you have a real entrepreneurship. With the new BUs you have the hybrid.
Right.
The speed, ownership, the commitment, the dedication is different. So the key point is always still going after the talent. Whether or not you have the right talents and the right incentive structure. So if we see a startup with the right talent, we better not try to reinvent the wheel. We better not trying to create another
Do you want to
duplicate.
pull them in?
We probably will join them as a minority or something. We could
So
become.
you're ready to be a minority shareholders in a startup.
Oh, of course, of course. Look at
And you don't
SoftBank.
try to eat it up later on.
No. That's not the idea, because if you take control of the company, then you lose the entrepreneurship. What do you want? Today CP Group invested 30%, 40%, or even 50%, but it doesn't matter. Even 20%, CP Group would invest if it's the right business, and it could synergize with what we are doing, for example. That would probably be the first priority, because it's not only synergized with the group, but actually the group can contribute, because the group can use its own ecosystem to incubate or support the startup. So that way of, I think is natural in the way, as I mentioned earlier, that the seed should fall outside of the shadows. But it doesn't mean that the group are looking to see the forest and not to have big trees, but no forest.
คุณกรณ์ do Thai politicians understand startups?
I think they're beginning to.
A bit too late?
Well, it's never too late, is it?
Because we need political leadership.
I think, frankly, you have to accept the fact that it's a generation issue as well. I'm new to it. I only know a fraction of what you guys know, but I hope I know enough to know that you are important, and that we need to work together to facilitate what it is that you're all trying to achieve, and learn not to fear it. I think too much of the narrative and the dialogue that we're seeing through the press as well highlights the concerns, highlights the fear, and especially when it comes to fintech, it is admittedly still a challenge. So we need to work together. In the meantime, you guys need to behave. Make sure you have to acknowledge reality that if you're going to make a mistake of one is going to be expanded by the time the general public hears of it into a mistake of 100. So and that will require a lot of hard work to mitigate. So trust is a big issue, but from the perspective of the politicians, I don't think you should expect that to be a problem. But what is important is communicating your needs and communicating the potential benefits clearly to them. If they see it as a win-win for what they're trying to achieve, from the perspective of what is expected of them by the general public, then I think we can move forward together. And I think we're on the right path, frankly.
Barack, you have the last word. What would you say to our young entrepreneurs in the startup community here, learning from Israeli embassy?
First of all, I think
experience. The success rate is very low in startups.
Yes.
A lot of them will not succeed.
They should not
should
worry.
They
They should not worry. I think success rate is one thing, but anything is an adventure. You need to take your path. I believe a lot in people and execution. If you're doing, even if you're failing, it's all okay. Nothing will happen. The world is not collapsing tomorrow. You will gain this experience and you put it again. We have what we call is virtuous cycle. Any person that is actually making money is going back to invest with his co-peers or in other businesses. It's very, very important. It's all about the execution at the end of the day. You come in and you're doing the best you can do. You are going to disrupt the market. That's the most important part. You are going to take your country much forward, much stronger. And this is the most important part. And you know what? All the corporates will be behind you. They will support you. I believe that any corporate, as Kun Supachai quite rightly said, they need also you. They cannot develop everything by themselves. And this is exactly what we're looking for. And we believe that Israel is always here. We are very, very good friends of Thailand. We will support as much as we can, either by collaborating with JVs, business units, whatever it is, with Thai startups, we will support. Either it's with mentoring, come to Israel, we would love to host you. We would like you to see much more of what's the possibilities for you. You know, take a chance in life, dare to do it. It's all good. Yeah, don't be afraid of the failure. And at the end of the day, government will have to do certain policies to support. They already do certain policies. I think policies that will assist the market, assist the private sector to attract FDI into the country. This is availability of funds that will help at the end of the day to the startups. They will give them maybe the engine, the burning fuel to the engine that they already have. They have motivation and they are skilled. And this is the next generation of Thailand. And we have to respect what they're saying and see how we can support them as much as we can, because they are the ones, as Khun Khon said, they are the ones that are going to take the burden. You know, so I wish you a lot of success, and we are in Israel, you know, like, would love to assist in as much as we can.
So take a chance in your life.
Definitely.
So with that,
There's nothing to lose.
I would bring this discussion to a close. Give a big hand to all the speakers up here. Thank you.